Good morning. Welcome back. Hope you did well on your test. If they're not posted by today, I'll get right on it. You know, something, we just finished the Middle Ages, and one of my students one time said, why we got to study all this old music? Well, it's because it's music history. And we go from the old and come up to the present. But he said, can't you use more modern examples? And I said, well, yeah. But we also have to stay with the old because they are the original. But I did go and look and I found out, you don't have to know this. I'm sharing this with you in case you're kind of interested. Enigma is the name of a music project that was put together, and they did a variety of genres, types of music, but they also did a modern version of Gregorian chant. And I probably should have played this on the other video, but before we get into the Renaissance period, which is the next time period we're going to start today, let me share you just a little bit, share with you just a little bit of Enigma. This modern Gregorian chant, sort of. Just to let you know that people still are doing chants, and if you like it, check it out. I believe I'm on screen right here. Kind of hard to tell. That's why I have the podium. If I can see the podium in the picture, yeah, a little bit. I can see me. All right. We are going to be talking about the Renaissance, the next time period. Started around 1450 and lasted till about 1600. Remember, 1450 is when the Middle Ages ended, but and these aren't exact years. They didn't all of a sudden stop and start writing new kinds of music. It kind of blends over and goes, you know, it's just kind of morphs. But the predominant styles of music happen around these different time periods. The Renaissance is it's referred to often as the rebirth of human creativity. Creativity. That just doesn't look right to me. That's how it is in my notes, so I'm going to go with that. And what they mean by human creativity is kind of, it's not that they got away from God and religion, but people started being well aware, hey, you know, we're humans, we're pretty important. We need to start, you know, honoring ourselves and taking care of ourselves. And people got curious and started exploration. Here's some names, and I'm going to stop writing everything down because I think that takes too long. If you need to stop and rewind the video a little bit, then you can do that. And this will do two things. One, it'll make the video shorter because it doesn't take so long for me. It takes longer for me to write on the board. So you will be responsible for this information. If you need to rewind and get these names, whatever, that's fantastic. You have that capability. I guess that's one advantage that you have doing this on video that you don't have in the classroom. Music was an important leisure activity, and I kind of question why they use the word leisure, because leisure to me means if you want to do it, do it. But everybody who was considered educated was expected to be able to play a musical instrument or sing, and sing well. And music was just, it was the thing. Now, if you wanted to study something else, great, but everyone was expected to know music. On the weekends, people will gather together and go over to someone's house, and they'd each take a turn playing their instrument or singing a song. I remember, and your grandparents probably remember this also, but I remember when I was younger, after church on Sunday evening, we'd all pick a house and go over to that house and gather around the piano and sing hymns. And that was a weekly thing. Well, that practice is kind of worn out, but that's how it was back in the days, back in the Renaissance period. Again, the rebirth of human creativity, the exploration started becoming a big deal. This is when Christopher Columbus set off on his big journeys. Okay, and people like Vasco da Gama and Ferdinand Magellan, these were explorers who were going out and seeing what else is out there in the world besides just what we have here. And self-expression beyond just taking what was dictated to them, people started standing up and speaking for themselves. Interestingly enough, remember before the Middle Ages, the Roman Empire ruled pretty much everywhere. But then the fall of the Roman Empire, there's a lot of chaos. And remember from the Goshorn video, the dumpster fire. There was no organization, just everyone wild on top of each other. Well, now, people are trying to get back to their roots, so to speak. They started in the literature written back in the Renaissance period, they started using the mythology and thoughts from the Roman era. So they also adopted some of their sculpture aspects. And if you look, and now you need your book, if you look on page 95, this is going to be hard to do, I think. I'm going to try this, see if it comes out. You'll notice this is the sculpture of David. Remember David who slew Goliath with a sling? But you notice he's naked. The body beautiful. We are human. There's nothing wrong with it. Let's start celebrating humans and the bodies. And then in visual art, here's Mary holding baby Jesus. And but notice they use very dark background. There's not a tree behind them. There's no scenery. It's just the human beings that are being featured. The focus is on the people and not the picture of everything behind them. Had one student one time said, "That can't be baby Jesus. That's an ugly baby." I don't know. It's a baby is a baby. Anyhow, that's on page 95 in your book. We're focused on depth and perception, not the surroundings. Okay? Here's something big enough for me to write it on the board. One of the biggest inventions to ever come along, fantastic, the movable press in 1450. Remember I talked the other day on the last video about the scriveners that hand wrote the words in the Bible for each book, or any book, actually, they had to handwrite it. Well, in 1450, the movable press was invented. And what they can do with this now, down in Tifton, they have what's called the Agorama. And if you go in there, it's basically it's a replica of the 1800s and the houses and stuff like that. You need to go check it out if you haven't been there. But they have a newspaper office in there. And if you've been there and you've seen this, they have this big wooden frame, and they take these little tiny metal letters, and they put them in order to spell out the news. And then when they get done, they roll ink on top of the metal letters, put it on a piece of paper, stamp it down, boom. Done deal. They can mass produce books now. That's what the movable press was able to do. They could just rearrange the words and then they could make bunches of books in one time. This enabled the cost of books to come way down. So now people were able to get books, and education just started booming in the secular world. Remember the religious monasteries and all that. The church already had education, but now everybody's starting to discover stuff through the written word. Big invention. Bigger than the car. I think so. Because this just changed the way communication, everything was limited, and now it's not limited. Let's go ahead and jump into the music aspect of the Renaissance. Yeah, I'll take this out. I'll leave that up there though. During the Renaissance period, composers, we still had big areas controlled by one person. Kings had their little kingdoms, still had the palaces. And when you say palace, we're not talking about one big building. We're talking the palace was all the land around. You had lords and princes who ruled the land and the people that lived in these places. And for entertainment, they would have a composer, and they employed him. They paid the composer, and what the composer did was write music for the person in charge. Let's say he wrote music for the Duke. On Saturday night, the Duke would like to have his friends and family come visit for tea and crumpets. And for entertainment, the court composer would have his little orchestra of maybe 10 people sit down. They'd play music in the background. There's a video that I used to share with my classes called Box Fight for Freedom. And it shows this kind of setting. It's been taken off of YouTube, so I can't share it anymore. And just take me at my word. They used to have groups of people come over, and the court composer and his little musicians would play the music, and it would be freshly written music that week for the Duke. They also provided the music for Sundays at the church. And anyhow, secular music started being used for ceremonies and weddings and other functions. And so court composers are now in the secular world. This is what the court composers did for social functions and weddings and ceremonies. Now let's talk about some musical techniques and characteristics. Word painting. We're actually going to have two definitions of word painting, and they're interchangeable. But word painting in the Renaissance period, a lot of times the music would be written first and the words added later. And what word painting means is the words reflect the music. I know I'm writing too much again. For instance, if the music went downward from high notes to low notes, it's called going down. And the composer might, if that's the melody right there, the direction of the music is going down, and so they would write words something like, the leaves come floating down from the tree. The words were talking about the leaves falling down as the music went down in pitch. Or, how about, the words would be, when Jesus died, he went up to heaven, went up. The mouse ran up the clock. Follows the direction of the music. Also, dynamics. This is a word we're going to be talking about dynamics quite a bit. Dynamics is how loud or soft the music is. It's really weird teaching this and not getting immediate feedback. You can clap your hands loud, or you can clap them soft. And we will later in the course get more in depth into dynamics, but for right now, understand that dynamics is how loud or soft the music is. The way the dynamics were in the Renaissance, the dynamics had very small differences. They had maybe soft and a little louder, and a little softer, and a little louder, softer, loud, soft, loud. They didn't have real soft and real loud. It was just really slight differences. And the main reason for this, how many people did I say the composer had in his group? 10. And 10 people together can't get too awfully loud. Most of the music was written for one for vocals, for 1 to maybe 4 or 5 people. 4 or 5 people can't get near as loud as, say, 100 people. For instance, the orchestras we have today range anywhere from 120 to 230 people. That number of people can get awfully loud. Rhythm and melody. We talked about melody the other day. We used Judy Collins, and I mentioned rhythm. Remember how rhythm is the length of the time that you hold the notes, so it can have a different feeling. It's rhythmic. The rhythm and melody during the Renaissance period, the rhythm and melody were very flowing, smooth, and gentle. And the melody, remember we talked about the chant, how the melody was stepwise, but here comes Hildegard, she does all these leaps. Well, the leaping and stuff hasn't caught on really well yet. So there's still, the notes and stuff are still stepwise. All right, now we're going to talk about types of music, and when the stuff I cover, folks, remember I said if all these concrete blocks were an aspect of music, we may be covering one of these blocks. This isn't the only music they had back in those days, but these are very important in the realm of things. So we're just covering a little bit of every time period. Sacred music. Jeez. Sacred music, this is music that was used or sung in the church. There are 2 types. We're going to start with the first type. It's called a motet. And I'm writing this down because this is pretty important. A motet is a polyphonic choral work. Choral meaning for voices. That's where we get chorus from, because it's choral music and a chorus sings it. Anyhow, a polyphonic choral work set to Latin text. So even though people are speaking all kinds of languages, we're still using the Latin text in the church. Remember, we're sacred. This is the sacred music style. So in the church, we're still using the Latin text. In fact, there are still churches today. If you go and you sit down and listen, the minister or priest or whoever's saying their message in Latin. Still some places do that. Roman Catholic churches used to always. Only, I would say, the last maybe 20 years did they start using, but that's just a me thought. There's no basis on that. All right, let's break this down. Motet, polyphonic. Remember what polyphonic means? It means there's 2 melodies happening at the same time. Choral work, 4 chords, and they use a Latin text. I do have okay. That is one type of song that the clergy, that the churches use. The second is, you can almost call it functional music, but it's still art music. It's called the Mass. A Mass is a polyphonic composition a Mass is a polyphonic, which means two or more melodies happen at the same time. Polyphonic composition made up of 5 sections. Or you could basically say it's a short story with 5 chapters. And what the Mass was, more than just a piece of music, it was the order of the service of the church. If you were Catholic, you probably already know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. Because Catholic church services, it is a Mass. In fact, I have friends who are Catholic, and they don't say, hey, why don't you come go to church with me on Sunday? They go, hey, why don't you come go to Mass with me? So the Mass, the music aspect of the Mass, the priest begins, and the first thing I heard is a piece of music, and that the words in the music set the tone of what's going to happen next. So the first piece of music is called the Kyrie. The Kyrie is the first song in the Mass. And what Kyrie means is, Lord, have mercy on us. So everyone comes into the church and a Kyrie is sung with the concept in that is, Lord, have mercy on us. There are bunches of Kyries. I could write a Kyrie, you write a Kyrie. They're not going to sound the same, but they're going to have the same words, same meanings in the Kyrie. So after the Kyrie, the priest comes up and, speaks to the Lord, and the congregation saying, Lord, we've been out of church for a week and we have not been as good as we should be. Have mercy on us. Then after that is over, a second piece of music is played. Actually, it's still part of the same piece, same Mass, it's just a different section. And it's called the Gloria. The concept of Gloria is glory be to God on high. And I do believe it is right to do that. So the first concept, you start church, Lord have mercy on us. And then they sing, glory be to God on high. You have mercy on us. Glory to you. You're the number one thing. And then the third song is the Credo. And the concept of the Credo is, I want to make sure I write the correct phrase. I know what it means. I believe the Credo concept is I believe in one God. So we come into church and we sing, Lord, have mercy on us, we've been so bad. Glory be to you, Lord, you're God. And I only believe in one God. This is a credo. Credo comes from the word creed. A creed is a declaration of faith and of beliefs. Pledge allegiance to the flag is basically a creed. The military, you've probably seen from, can't remember the name of the movie right now, but where the soldier recites the rifle creed. This is my rifle, there's none other like it, I shall, as my best friend, da 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 da. You're saying what you are dedicated to in your life. I'm dedicated to just one God. After the Credo comes the Sanctus. The concept in the words and music of the Sanctus is holy, holy, holy. This is not just some casual thing. This is more than that. It's better than that. It is holy. It's God-like. It's Holy Experience. Lord, have mercy on us. We haven't been good. Glory to you, God, for being God. You are the best. I believe in only you, God. And thank you. This is such a holy experience we're having. And then the fifth section of a Mass is called the Agnus Dei. Okay. A lot of words right here, but I'm going to go ahead and write them on the board. Lamb of God, who takest away the sins of the world. Let's see if I can do some time speed writing. Jeez. So much for speed. Lamb of God, who taketh away the sins of the sins of the world. So we come to church. Lord, have mercy on us. We've not been good. Glory to you, God. You're the best. You're on. When something is high, you look down. You're way above us. We're not close. And I only believe in you, Lord. I dedicate my life to you with a creed. This is such the holy cleansing, the holy experience that we need right now. Last thing they do, they're praying to God, Lamb of God, who taketh away the sins of the world. We are getting ready to leave this church service. Please protect us from the sins of the world as we go out into another work week. Now, there are 5 basically short songs that make up the Mass. Each one of these can stand alone as its own song, but together it's called a Mass. Each one of these songs is referred to as a movement. As a movement. So there are 5 movements in here. Definition of a movement, and like I said, I'm going to try to stop writing everything down because that makes it go longer. A movement is a short piece of music that can stand alone, but is part of a larger work, a larger piece of music. I'm going to play for you. Okay, now let's talk about each one of these pieces has a form. Remember we talked about form the other day. We used short people. How we went. And the words and the music were happy and snazzy little beat, and then it got serious and slowed down, and then at the end of the song played exactly the same thing as the beginning of the song, and we called that form what? ABA. Now I left the Kyrie up here because this is what we're going to listen to. We're not going to listen to a whole Mass. We're just going to talk about the Kyrie. But understand that the same form is used for each movement in the Mass. Boo, 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 boo. I wish I can't pause this video. We're going to listen to the Kyrie from the Pope Marcellus Mass. Okay, now, remember how I told you form can be described in different ways. It could be the tempo, fast, slow, fast. It could be the words, happy, sad, happy. It could be the dynamics, loud, soft, loud. You can break it up into 3 ABA, 3 systems. The Kyrie has 3 parts. And just like in the Mass, each movement had its main concept, Lord have mercy on us. The Kyrie has 3 parts, and there's a separate concept in each of the Kyrie. The first part, A, is when the words Kyrie eleison means Lord have mercy on us. The second part in the ABA form of the Kyrie is the Christi eleison. Kyrie means Lord. Christi, what word can we get out of that? Christ. All right, if it's ABA form, the third part is going to be what? Yep, you got it. It's going to be the same as the A. So ABA form. Kyrie eleison, that's the words actually they sing. Then Christi eleison, And then they go back to Kyrie eleison. Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy. This is, I've got to write this down too, because this is important. This is on your listening. I'm going to leave that up there. I don't know why, but we're listening to a piece of music by Jacques Dupre. No. I just looked at the wrong page of my notes. Palestrina. And the piece we're listening to is called the Kyrie. And we're listening to it as an example of a mass. What is a mass? It's made up of 5 different parts. The Kyrie eleison is that part. I am going to reroute you over to the computer because I want to, as it plays, show you the parts. So bear with me. I don't know how to pause this thing, and I apologize. Let's see, can I get closer in on it? I can. There we go. Make it bigger. This is Palestrina's Kyrie for the Pope Marcellus Mass. And I'm going to talk during the video a little bit. Okay, this is the beginning, the Kyrie. Notice the words. Kyrie, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, over and over. Lord have mercy. This is still part A. We're still singing Kyrie eleison. That was Kyrie eleison. Now comes Christi eleison. Christi eleison goes on the other page. That's the end of part B. Now we're going to part C, which is Kyrie. Lord have mercy upon us. Thing I want to point out, we definitely have two different melodies being sung at the same time. You have the female voice and the male voice are singing two different melodies. This is a polyphonic choral composition, remember? And here we come to the end. That was the Kyrie eleison from the Pope Marcellus Mass. And we're going to go, that's Enigma, and that, and that. And I have forgotten to look up a piece of music. I will do it right now, though. As I continue speaking, Palestrina was known as the Prince of Music. And he's known as the Prince of Music because there's another guy by the name of Dupre, and we're going to talk about him in a minute, but I'm having trouble typing and talking, so let me just type real quick. There it is. There it is. And this is what I should have done prior. Should have done this prior to the Palestrina part. But Dupre, yeah, you can see that. Dupre, the guy who wrote this, is known by all the great scholars in music as to be the best composer of all time. And that's why he's the greatest composer, but that's why Palestrina, the one we just listened to, was known as the Prince, because he wrote like Dupre did, and but he used a little cleaner diction between the people. This, remember we talked about a motet. This is an example of a motet. This is one song by itself. It's not part of the Mass. And this is Ave Maria by Dupre. D-E-S, the space, and P-R-E-Z. I'm trying to do the D over again. This is Ave Maria. Remember, motet is a polyphonic choral piece with Latin text. So the first person starts off singing this melody, and after just a little bit, a second person comes in, starts singing a different melody. They're using the same words that the first person just did, but it's a different melody. And after a little bit longer, a third person comes in, and then a fourth person. But see, there's only two at a time. You got two going on here, and two going on here, because these blanks right here mean that person quit singing. So you got two melodies going on at the same time throughout this piece. This is Dupre's Ave Maria is an example of a motet. Now we've got 4 melodies happening at the same time. It's still polyphonic because poly means 2 or more. Poly means multiple. So you got all 4 voices going. And that was an example of a motet, and I taught those concepts a little bit backwards than I should have. Should have done the motet first, and then the mass. But you get the idea. Alrighty. That was the 2 types of music that the sacred world was using, the mass and the motet. I'm going to take a short break right now. And so I'm going to end up having 2 videos on the Renaissance. And this is a good place to stop because next I talk about the secular world and its development in music. Have a great day. Class is not dismissed. Go to video part 2. And I may even put it on the next day. This was an hour-long video. In class, it would have taken me about 2 hours to teach it. So look at Moodle and see if you've got to watch the second video after this or next class time. Bye-bye.